Assalamualaikum, I am NADIRA. For the introduction of Singapore. Singapore, officially known as the Republic of Singapore, is a vibrant and prosperous city-state located in Southeast Asia with a rich history and the diverse cultural heritage. Singapore has transformed itself into a global hub for finance, commerce, technology and tourism. The country is situated at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula and is separated from Malaysia by the Straits of Johor to the north. Covering an area of just over 700 square kilometers, Singapore is one of the smallest countries in the world, but it boasts one of the highest population densities. The country is made up of one main island known as Singapore Island or Pulau Ujong, and over 60 smaller islands. Despite its small size, Singapore has become a global economic powerhouse and melting pot of different cultures. For the early history, Singapore has a long history of human habitation. There is evidence of 3rd century settlements. It is acted as a key maritime trading center. For colonial era, when the British East India Company established a commercial facility on the island in 1890, Sir Stamford Raffles served as its director. Singapore's port quickly expanded, attracting immigrants from around Asia. At World War II, from 1942 to 1945, the Japanese ruled Singapore. Under Japanese rule, the local population experienced hardship and poverty. And in the independence era, Singapore separated from Malaysia on 9 August 1965, after attaining self-governance in 1959. This happened because of political and economic problems. Then, I will share about the current economy of Singapore. When it comes to economy, it is always growth rate will come the first. Singapore's growth rate, specifically in GDP, on 2021 is 7.6%, 2022 is 3.0%, and 2023 is 2.3%. And Singapore's currency is Singapore dollar or SGD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NATASHA NORDIN. Today I want to present about political and social aspect of Singapore. This is the political of Singapore. Since its independence in 9 August 1965, the country has adopted a parliamentary democracy system. Currently, the government and the cabinet are led by Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, while the President HALIM is the head of state. As we know, the main capital of Singapore is Republic of Singapore. Singapore also is a parliamentary representative democratic republic, whereby the President of Singapore is the head of state. The Prime Minister of Singapore is the head of government and of the multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the cabinet from the parliament and to the lesser extent the president. Next, the social aspect. Singapore, with each offering different perspective of life in Singapore in terms of culture, religion, food, language and history. This country had 5 million of people. There are many religions in Singapore, which is Taoism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism and Christianity. In Singapore, there are also various ethnic groups, for example, Chinese, Malay, Indian and Eurasian. Its contemporary modern culture consists of the combination of Asian and European culture, mainly by Malay, South Asian, East Asian and Eurasian influences. Singapore has been dubbed the country where East meet the West, the gate to Asia and the Garden City. That's all from me. Thank you. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we will discuss the domestic issue that arise in Singapore. The first domestic issue is cost of living. The high cost of living is precisely concern of the many Singaporean housing prices, expenses and transportation costs are most of the factors contribute to the high cost of living in the country. Housing accommodation costs in Singapore are typically the largest expense for the residents. The housing market is competitive and prices of both buying and the renting properties are high. Public housing are known as a Housing and Development Boards HDB flats provide affordable option, but they still involve significant costs. For the transportation, while the public transport is efficient and well developed in the Singapore, owning and maintaining a car can be the expense due to high taxes and fees. The cost of petrol is also relatively high. However, the public transportation system is generally affordable and accessible. The second point is the aging population and healthcare. Singapore face the challenge of the aging population, increasing population of elderly citizens. They are growing the demand of healthcare service, long-term facility and elderly support. Long-term care and support service as the elderly population increases. There is the growing needs of long-term care service as a nursing homes, daycare centers and a home care service. The government is working on expanding and developing of the such a service and changing affordability and quality of service. Increasing healthy demands. As the population ages, there is a higher demand of the healthcare services, including the primary care, specialist care and long-term care. This put pressure on the healthcare system provide to adequate and accessible service to meet the growing needs of the elderly population in Singapore. This is the second part of the domestic issue that arise in Singapore.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. I am NURUL MAISARAH HISHAM and I will continue to explain about the domestic issue that exists in Singapore. Another issue is about the income inequality. Although Singapore is a country that has achieved extraordinary economic growth, there is still inequality in the income of Singaporeans. This happens when there is a wealth gap between wealthy and low-income households. However, one of the ways or initiative taken by the Singaporean government is to introduce a progressive wage model and also an additional workfare income. The next domestic problem is in terms of the education system. For everyone's information, the education system in Singapore is quite advanced and very competitive. Because of that, it actually puts a lot of pressure on the students. There are discussions made to overcome this problem. One of that is to update the system. This is to promote holistic education, and with this, it can reduce the pressure on students and prevent mental health problems from increasing. So it is important to note that domestic issue exists everywhere in the country, but what makes it different is how the country overcome the problem. That's all from me. Thank you.
To sum up everything that I have stated, despite this issue, Singapore has made significant progress in achieving social stability, economic prosperity and a high standard of living. The government proactive approach and long-term planning and have contributed to Singapore's success in various areas, including infrastructure development, public safety, healthcare, education. Singapore continues to involve the adapt of our cultures, ensuring a bright future its citizens and residents. Just like the normal country, just like a development country, how the Singapore work, how the Malaysia work is the same. But the Singapore government still have the proactive action to solve every issue in the social issue and the background and also the domestic issue that arises in Singapore. It's really important that how the government had to solve that problem. That's all for me. Thank you.